Hey guys, how are you? It's Kat. I am coming to you today with another really great read. It's called Beautiful Rush by Emery Rose. So I have read her previous two books, which I did videos on. I'll include them down in the comments. This is the third book. Oh, the garbage truck is coming down my street. I'm sorry if you can hear that. Anyway, this is the third book in the series. This book is about Deacon and Kyra. Kyra is Connor and Killian's half-sister, which we find out about in Beautiful Lies. We kind of meet her, 3/4 of the way through the book. Connor goes searching for their mom, and Killian and his mom, and comes across Kyra, has no idea that they have a sibling, a half sibling, and that's when we meet her. So this book is about her. She ends up coming, after she meets Connor, her life is she's not very happy. She's from Miami. She lives there with her parents. Her dad is a major criminal, very shady. Drugs, arms, just all around bad guy. Tons of money though, so he's very successful at being a criminal and keeps her pretty protected because of all the bad people he's around and sheltered. And her mom is all about her dad. She feels like she's an afterthought. Her mom is really cold. And after she meets Connor and realizes that she abandoned them as young children, she never felt like she had a bond really with her mom. Her mom is very focused on her dad, and she's always yearned for a family. So she meets Connor, shockingly, and decides, after he leaves to go back to New York, decides a couple months later she's going to follow him. So she takes off and moves to New York and leaves Miami in the dust, doesn't even tell her parents that she's leaving. So that's Kyra. It was amazing to me. The book just kind of picks up right where Beautiful Lies left off, and I really like that. It hit the ground running. I had just read it, recently, so it was still very fresh in my mind, and I loved it. So it was very easy to get right back in there with the story. You meet Deacon also in the previous two books, little snippets. He is Connor and Killian's friend from childhood, and he grows up to become an NYPD police officer and actually knows their dad. And we already know the story about that. So but he's a cop as well. So that's where we kind of see him in that role, but we also find out that they were friends as well. So it picks up, right away. They meet each other again under kind of surprising circumstances. As it turns out, Kyra is kind of a badass, and she likes to race cars. So she steals her dad's Porsche to drive from Miami to New York, and then hawks it, sells it for parts or something, to kind of start over her life in New York. And she gets a job at Tate, which is another character that we have met before, at his garage, and she has a love of fast cars. So he's kind of teaching her how to be a mechanic, which I thought was really cool. And so she likes to race her car, which is a Dodge Charger, souped up Dodge Charger, and illegally, street racing. So she's at a race one night, and here shows up Deacon, but we find out that he's undercover. And because she's kind of used to like the shifty guys and men, she handles herself around these street racers really well, and she picks up, almost immediately that he's not Deacon, that he's somebody else. And they get introduced, and she's actually using a fake name as well. She's not using her real name. So that was interesting. Something we know about Deacon is that he is very similar to Connor and Killian. He's the protector, he's a bit mysterious, he's very capable. I really like the way Emery writes her male characters. I love them. They speak to me. I like, and I talked about it with Connor and Killian as well, that they're protectors and that they're these men's men. And I really like the fact that it's tried and true with all of them. They're all the same in that way, but yet they're all very different. But they have this underlying current of protectiveness, stability, sensitivity, of course, loyalty, and once they consider you in their circle or in their family, you're there. They're ride or die. And I do really like that and appreciate that, and it makes me very swoony. So going back a little bit, we meet Kyra. She is in her younger 20s, maybe 20, 21, and she has left her mom and dad and everything, her life in Miami. I already told you that she's kind of protected, and her dad's a bad guy and she doesn't have much of a relationship with her mom. But something that we learn about her is that she yearns for family and connection, and because of the way she was raised, she's kind of a hard ass, and she learned to school her features and her feelings and not really show or share herself with anyone. She has a bodyguard, a driver, at a young age, and she feels very close to him. She calls him her dad's fixer, and he, she thinks she actually at one point thinks that, she loves him, even though he's much older than her. But she yearns for a connection and something else to ground her, because she doesn't really feel like she has it. And she's in an unsafe environment on top of that. So, that's something that she's looking for. And I think when she meets Connor and she immediately, is like, oh, I have a brother? And then she's like, oh my gosh, I have two brothers? I think, that's what drives her out of Miami, because she's got nothing here. And she goes, like I said, to New York to meet them, surprisingly, much to, Connor's dismay. And yet, when they get to know each other a little bit, there's an instant connection and an instant family bond. And it was kind of sad, because at one point, she's talking about them and how much she, loves them. And she says that she's looking at Killian, and she realizes how much Connor and Killian look like their mom, and that she resembles her dad more, and that they couldn't be more different as far as that goes. The feelings that she feels, about her brothers. It's very apparent how much she loves them from the get-go. And but yet to see them look and resemble their mom so much, is kind of not off-putting, but she just feels like she's kind of surprised by it. As she's describing her brothers and different interactions that they have throughout the book, I really felt as a reader, I saw them the way she saw them. So that's something that Emery is really good at. She, without being super wordy or whatever, just how she describes things, you really understand them. And so as you're reading and the story is unfolding and you're getting to know the characters that you're supposed to be getting to know, I felt like I really got them, because as it's going along and Kyra'S talking about them, that's exactly how I saw them too. So that was like a win for me. I liked that. So like I said, they meet at this, they know each other, but they surprisingly meet at the street race one night. And Deacon is undercover. He's working a case. And she figures that out pretty quick because, like I said, they get introduced as different names. And what then happens pretty quick after that is that he shows up at her apartment kind of in the middle of the night, unannounced. And you realize that that's his pattern with her, that he's working this case completely embedded and undercover in this case, but yet he feels a connection with her immediately, and they're kind of trying to feel that out. He shows up at her apartment unannounced, but yet she knows it's him, and he comes in, and they are, there's no unanswered, unrequited feelings. They know right away that they're into each other. And I liked how that was just, yes, there's some, trying to find their way in their relationship, but I liked how there wasn't kind of a back and forth. It was just, they know it, they're going for it, they're trying to figure it out, but they just go. So that night when he shows up at her apartment, she describes him as the calm to her storm. She feels although she now feels, I suppose, like she's got roots because she's been accepted by her brothers and their girlfriends, and she's feeling this sense of family that she never had before. But she has a lot of inner turmoil because of the way she was raised, because of how she feels about her parents, and not really, how she didn't really have like a life outside of, very sheltered life in Miami, and now she's trying to find her footing and where she fits in the world. And so she says that he's the calm to her storm, and that he's the kind of man who's capable, and you can feel it about him right away. And it confuses her that she feels drawn to him because she feels like she never wants somebody to try to control her, because she feels like she saw that with her parents' relationship. With her dad controlled everything, and her mom just went along with it. He told her what to wear, what to do. Kyra herself, she had certain clothes she wore. She was only around certain people, very guarded. And she doesn't want that. She wants to figure out life on her own. And so here comes Killian, and he's kind of this strong, domineering guy, but she kind of likes that about him. In some ways, it calms her. Not that he's trying to control her, but that there's this steadfast kind of his solid nature, and she's drawn to that. And it really confuses her. She doesn't understand why she would want that with him when she never wanted it with anybody else. She doesn't want to lose herself. She's very strong, and although he seems to be just like the other men she knows, he's not. Deacon sees her as, he describes her in a few different words, a paragraph. And he says that she reminds him of a tragic Russian heroine in a novel, that she is sometimes crazy, she's strong, she's playful, she's sassy, and she has all these layers, and he never knows who he's going to get with her, but he really likes that. He recognizes that even though she puts on this strong exterior and kind of hard-ass, capable, I've used that word a lot today, I feel like, but in any case, she kind of puts this like edgy exterior on. She likes the street racing, like she likes cars, she's sassy, she stands up for herself. He sees right away with her that she isn't nearly as fearless as she portrays herself to be, and that he knows that intimacy scares her. And I think those are the soft parts that he sees with her, that he recognizes, maybe because he's looking way deeper. Not that her, brothers aren't, but he sees her obviously in a different way than her brother sees her. And he likes that that he can see that he knows that he's kind of got her, he's pegged her. He knows exactly what she's all about. I really like that through Deacon and Kyra'S story, we get a lot of Killian and Eden and Connor and Ava. Now, it's definitely Deacon and Kyra'S story, but there's a lot that we get to see, a lot of interaction. They've kind of made this little family, and although they don't know about Deacon and Kyra'S relationship, really, they kind of sense something's going on, but Deacon's undercover, and so he hasn't been around, as far as they know. He hasn't been around, and that's not weird. But we see there's a lot of interaction. There's a lot of scenes where they're all together. And because I loved their books so much, I was really glad to be able to see all of them and to see their stories carry on and where they were. And I liked that. I felt like I got to know them all a little bit more. I saw the little pieces of each of their personalities. At one point, Eden is painting a mural. She's been commissioned to paint another mural, which is, something that she had been doing in Beneath Your Beautiful. And she's supposed to be up high on this ladder, and Killian can't stay. Like, if he's not there to hold the ladder, he doesn't want her up on the ladder. He's just protective of her. And it drives him crazy that she doesn't listen to him. So he forbids her to be up on the ladder, and she's like, yeah, whatever. No, I have to paint it. I'm going to do what needs to be done. It's a job. So he takes the ladder from wherever she's painting. I don't remember now where it is, but he takes the ladder, and he doesn't take it home and hide it. He goes and he drops it off at Tate's garage for Kyra to hide it. So that she can't get up on the ladder when he's not around. Oh my gosh. It was so funny, and it was so perfect, and it made me burst out laughing, because that's exactly them. And so I really liked being able to see them, through this story as well, and be able to stay connected to them. So as with any story, you're waiting for kind of what that big shift is going to be, and where the plot is going to take a turn. And we get to that point, and I wasn't sure what that was going to be. I wasn't sure, I had read the previous 2 books, and, they were nice surprises when that happened. And so I wasn't sure if it was going to be something to do with that situation in those books, or if it was going to be something completely different with Deacon and, him being a cop, or, her street racing, or where was the story going to take a turn. And so it was good. It was a nice surprise when it happened. And I knew it was about to happen because so we're at the point where they've completely fallen for each other, and it's known. They don't mince words, or they just know. And so they're in a particularly passionate situation, and he's saying, I don't want you to be with anyone else, and she's like, you better not let anyone else touch you. And there's a lot of passion, and she's thinking, after this, a little while after this, kind of not daydreaming, but just thinking about him. And she says to herself that she knows something bad's going to happen, because she doesn't really deserve something good, that she's done bad things in her life. She has a big part of her story is something that happens with her mom and her dad. And I don't want to give that away, because that's kind of a big deal. But she feels like she did a really bad thing, and she did the right thing, but she did something that she feels it's not a bad thing. It was the right thing to do, but she is very guilty. She feels very guilty about it, and she changes the trajectory of her parents' lives, and she feels like she's going to pay for that and that it's going to come back to bite her. And she's just waiting, and she realizes she doesn't know how it's going to happen, but she prays that, Deacon doesn't have something to do with it, because she feels like she doesn't deserve him. He's this amazing guy, and she wants so much with him, but doesn't feel like she deserves him. And that was the point where I was like, okay, here we go. What's going to happen? It's coming. After that, the story goes along, and they kind of have a come to Jesus meeting with each other, and they've committed, and they're going to be really vulnerable with each other. And he takes her to meet his family, who he's very close with. And he himself had a pretty rough childhood and upbringing, and was adopted by who he now calls his parents, which are wonderful people, and he's very close to. And he credits them to really turning them and his grandfather to really turning his life around, loving him when he was really kind of a crappy teenager and doing bad things, and turning his life around, and him being able to be having a good solid foundation underneath him, and him being able to take off from that and have a good life. And so he wants to bring her to meet them, and he does, and they have a great time. And it's kind of that time where they're like, lay it all on the table. And she talks about her upbringing, he talks about his upbringing, but something that he said to her, which I highlighted as a passage, was he's giving her the opportunity to talk and tell him and open up. And he's just waiting patiently. And, he senses these things about her. He knows when to push her harder, and he knows when to pull back. And so he says, I've got strong shoulders, lay it all on me. And I loved that. It's so simple, but it was so him. And I thought, as her, I was like, oh, yes, he does. You can tell him, you can trust him. He's a good guy. He is who you should be with, and you can trust him with your heart. And I just loved that part so much. I just loved it. So I don't want to give away what happened, but her past does come back to haunt her. And unfortunately, Deacon is involved, and she's involved. They are right in the center of it, and they didn't know. And Deacon was being really careful about when he would go see her and the time they spent together, because he assumed, he was with some nefarious characters, and they would probably have him followed. And they're trying to bust this, big drug dealer, and he's infiltrated this guy's inner circle. And so he's trying to be very careful about the time he spends with her and what he subjects her to, and keeping her sheltered from that, and making sure he's not followed when he sees her, and all that. And what she doesn't realize is that somebody's been following her the whole time, and it's from her past. And then it kind of collides, and they're at the very center of it. And that was scary. I was like, oh, uh-oh, so there's this big thing, and like I said, I don't want to tell you. I want you to read the book. And at the end, towards the end of the book, when all that has been resolved and everything, the tables get turned a little bit, and she's scared by what happens, and although it all works out, she becomes very protective of him, and the tables get turned a little bit. And I liked that. And she, a couple weeks after it happened, he wakes up to her sitting there staring at him while he's sleeping, and her hand is on his heart, and she's making sure that he's okay. and that she's kind of on watch, and she's making sure he's resting, and that, you know, everything's okay around them. And that's how he was before and is, but with the stuff that happened, it kind of brings out her mama bear, and she flips the switch a little bit and is like, you know, I have to make sure he's okay. I have to protect him. I can't let, you know, can't let anything else happen to him. You know, I would just, you know, she would just die without him. And I thought that was cute. I liked that part. And also, they really do accept each other for what each other is. And they try to play to each other's strengths and weaknesses. And he hates that she street races. Not only is it illegal, but because, you know, there's money involved and she's winning and she's getting all this money, and, you know, but he's a cop, and it's dangerous, and they could hurt other people. And so he hates that she does that, but he understands why she does it and why she needs to do it, you know, for her emotional well-being and her personality and everything. So he wants to figure out a way that she can get that feeling, but not illegally and not where she's endangered. And he finds out, and he figures out a way, and he brings her to it, and he's like, here you go. And I just loved that they figure that out with each other. And he found a way to give her what she needed and what she wanted that was okay with him, and it was legal, and it was fine. And, oh, sorry, our dog's barking. Our mailman is coming by, and so she barks at him. So just ignore her. Anyway, so I really liked that. And I felt so comforted, and I just was so happy. And, you know, when the book was over, I was also very sad because I didn't want it to end. And I think I knew, I think I knew at the end of Beautiful Lies that we were getting Kyra'S story. So I knew that was coming, but now I think it's the end, and this is the last book, unless Emery decides to write something else with, you know, in this story. So cross your fingers for that. I'm pitching it right now. I hope that she does. I'm so sorry. I know that that's kind of obnoxious in the background. But in any case, definitely read this book and read the other two first. It's a fabulous series. It gives you all the feels. Great women characters, great men characters, lots of different types of people that, you know, are a little unexpected and a little mysterious, but you get to know them, and you love them, and you connect with them. Emery is just, she's really, I really like her. I cannot wait to read whatever else she writes. She will be a one-click author for me forever now. So I hope you enjoyed this. As I always say, let me know down below if you have read it, or let me know books that you like, new authors that you found. Definitely subscribe if you haven't already. My little channel is growing. I think I have 20 subscribers. Woohoo! I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you soon. Bye.